Hey YouTube, how you going? Welcome to another video. We're going to work on some new functionality in our Zettelkasten inspired note-taking application, and the piece of functionality that we're going to be working on is the ability to create a source, because every note that you create can have a different source. For example, a YouTube video, a newspaper article, an article, etc. So what we're doing is testing out a new prompt structure that builds on the one that I used in the previous video that got us very, very close to having AI do everything perfectly for us. So I'm going to run you through this, then we'll open up Claude, we'll create some new functionality and see how we go. So first of all, we've got the background information. So you are currently helping me build out a Zettelkasten inspired note-taking and knowledge management system. Once complete, this application will allow users to create notes, relationships, etc. Between those notes, tagging, blah, blah. I'm not going to read all this, but we're giving it the background information. So project setup and files. So this is quite important. In your project knowledge are all of the files you need to understand our actually this shouldn't be knowledge base, our project setup and code. In particular, there's a file titled structure.md which provides an overview of our file structure. So if you've watched one of my previous videos, we made this simple little script which I cut and pasted into this new knowledge bank project. And where is it? So generate structure, and then it outputs this structure.md file, which basically shows where all of the files are located. So with that, you're going to understand everything. I've specifically said there's a folder titled auth backend, and that this is a submodule. If you've watched my previous videos, we spent a lot of time writing a authentication backend, so user registration login, and we've now embedded that as a submodule so that I can use this same backend authentication piece for other projects in the future. All right, project considerations. So anything specific here, I'm telling it we're using Express.js version 5 because there's a difference in error handling, and I want it to use that new error handling approach. So we get on to the new functionality. So this is now what I want you to do. We've got a user story. I want to be able to create a source with details like title, source type, publication, channel, description, publication date. Data object, I've given a little bit more insight there. So here's the optional fields that it can provide. And in particular for source type and also publication, I want to avoid duplicates as much as possible. So if someone puts in YouTube and then spells YouTube with a capital, I want to basically ensure they're treated one and the same. What I want you to do then is write the code for this one specific piece of functionality. So this is the key, right? We want to do one specific thing each time. I'm telling it it's a post request, and I've also called out that there's actually two index.js files in our project knowledge base. One comes from the submodule, and I've told it predominantly handling routes associated with registration and login, so it can hopefully tell the difference, and then one for our knowledge bank project. Now this is the other big unlock. So if you look at our project here, when we did this add new note and same in our auth backend, we have very specific files and functionality encapsulated within one folder. So add new note route, controller, service, utils, validation chains, all contained in that one thing. Yes, that means for things like validation chains or some services that can be used across multiple different routes or called by multiple different controllers. There is some level of duplication, but AI copes much better when it's all kind of contained in that one folder. So I said, look, we want to create these files. So add new source routes, add new source controller, add new source services, add new source utils. Again, with utils, I'm saying here, I know it's best practice to have global, but we're not doing that. Add new source validation chains, and then to be very specific, what I envisage is a controller that accepts the request. This controller calls a service. The service in turn calls utils that are specific for that service, and specific to the functionality required for this use case. Each of these utils do one specific thing, and the functionality must be very compartmentalized. Before you write any code, please let me know if you have any questions. So that is the approach that I am taking. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to Claude. We're going to go into our projects. I might just create a new project here, and we'll call this knowledge bank, just so we can keep our authentication backend a little bit separate. And we're going to add content. So we will upload, and let me find this. So this is going to take a little bit of time. So in our auth backend, we don't need that. So upload those. Components, internal users. Log in. Sorry, this will take a little bit of time. Just give it as much context to our project as possible. Okay, so now jump back out of internal users, go to login. Password reset. Register new user. Okay. Then what we want to do is jump out of components, config, reminder config, middleware. So upload all our middleware. I will upload our middleware tests. We can take out the test files if we need the extra space. Middleware models. Same thing with the model tests, we can take them out. I'm conscious, yeah, of filling up our knowledge base too much. What we might do, we might just take out the test files because it's going to use more of scripts we don't need, tests we don't need, utils. Every time Claude has to look, I believe it re-looks at the knowledge bank, or project knowledge, sorry, and we don't necessarily want to, wait, I already did that right at the start. Yeah, so let's just quickly go through here and delete some of these test files. I can't even see the file name. Test, 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 test. Test, 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 test. Okay, so it's good. And then upload, out of our auth backend. So we've done all that. Come back to the knowledge bank, go into our components. We'll give it the context of adding a new node. And we'll upload from device. Logs, middleware, we don't need that. Models, definitely needs those. Models.js. That's just some helper function when we were debugging before. I don't think we're calling that anywhere anymore. Okay. Routes. Scripts, shared. All of these, and we are using, database, not DB, I believe. Yeah, I got to delete that. Again, if you've watched my previous videos, we had some challenges. All right, so upload all that. So we're at about 30%. Cool. All right, let's copy this. Let's paste this into Claude. Hit send. For one, let's store yes. Normalize and simulate a source type. For 3, yes if relevant. Create new error types. 4 no lengths. Validate the date in. No, no, don't validate the date. I haven't really thought about that. I'll say no, don't validate the date for now. No, there's no predefined list. 4, 5, yes, it requires authentication. Yes. All right. Okay. Conscious that this might add a little bit more complexity just in terms of AI doing it the way we want. Cool. So user notes description. Yep. Source errors. Oh, it's even creating a specific error type file for source errors. That's funny. Body. Yep. Yes. Alright, so utils, normalize checks, check existing source, create source. Yep. Okay, that looks pretty good. So what we can do is we'll open up our project, but first of all we'll pull this over here and we will tackle this one step at a time. So we've got our model. So if we go to model source.js, we need to add in a couple of different things. So we're going to copy down to publication, replace that. Description, publication date, notes tape stays the same. User ID, interestingly, I don't think we added this previously for a note, so we will also need to adjust that. Where am I? I didn't like that. Hang on, what am I doing on here? So user ID, let's just go from note, timestamps. Okay. Must have missed one. Index schema. Replace that with that. All right. Then if we go to Knowledge Bank and create a new folder, so let's come here, folder. We'll call this utils, and in here we're going to have a file called source errors.js. We might relocate this later on. For now, it can go there. So we bring in app error from our backend, which is great. All right. In our components, now what we need to do is add a new folder, and this folder is going to be called add new source, and in here we need all of our files, but we're going to start with add new source.validation chains.js, and we're going to copy this code and put it in here, save that. Then we're going to create a new file called add new source.utils.js, copy, paste that in here. Then we are going to create our services. So add new source.services.js, paste that in there. And then add new source.controller.js, add new source.controller.js, paste that in here. And then in our routes, we need to create that as well, obviously. So add new source.routes.js, save. And then we need to mount the route. So if we go to index, we can bring in our route. So like that. And then router.use. And this should have authenticate in front of it. Why is it saying? Okay, so it's going to be notes/sources. Notes/sources. That's fine. Cool. So if we cd, just back up because we're in our scripts folder, and go npm run dev. Oh, we need to install a few things. Express validator. Source areas. Let's just close this. npm I express. So install that, and then what can it find? Utils. So utils. App error. So let's just check this. So it's up 1, I believe. Okay, great. Great. Give me, I'm just asking Claude an example JSON body to send to this post request postman. And then what we will do here is we will duplicate this, and we'll call this notes/source. Is it source or sources? Source, right? Yeah, source. Source. Right, so then if we come here, we need to log in first of all. And we'll take our token, copy, come over here, header, paste that, body, copy, paste that, send. Source created successfully. AI worked 100% how we wanted it to. No questions asked. It was great. So let's just see if we send a request to the same one, we should get an error message. Source with the type and title already exists. How good's that? Awesome. Really happy. Clap, clap, clap for Claude on that one. I know it's relatively simple functionality. We're just creating a new source, but really I think with this prompt we have, and also all the learnings of the file structure, we've really nailed getting this to work off the bat without a whole heap of refactoring and going back and forward and telling it to do a whole heap of other things. So I'm going to wrap the video there because I think this is a really good example of a prompt that works exceptionally well. And then in a subsequent video, we might try our luck and extend this functionality to write our jest tests, which if you've been following my video, you'll know for whatever reason, AI struggles a lot with writing jest tests. But I'm going to take this as a win. We created functionality, and I know this video has gone for about 20 or so minutes, and if we were to handwrite this functionality, we'd probably be able to do it in about the same time if you were a competent developer. But the idea now is that we've got the template. Obviously, if you're doing this, you won't be talking to a camera, and we could just very quickly and easily go in here and say, okay, we've done that. Now I want you to create, all of this background information, all of this project setup is going to stay the same. It's now just changing out the user story, changing out like what data object you want to create, and editing these kind of file names so that it can just keep spitting out code. Cool, that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Let me know down below if you've got any comments or questions.